Good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Yacono.
And I'm Samantha York, in for Amanda Hill. We're going to get to all of those stories in just a moment, but we begin this half hour in Boston, where State Representative Laurel Libby asked an appeals court to give her back her right to speak on the floor of the Maine House.
You will recall back in February, the Democratic majority of the Maine House voted to censure Libby, a Republican from Auburn, for a social media post she made showing an image and the name of a transgender teenager.
The censure meant she could no longer speak on the floor or vote on bills. She sued Speaker of the House, Ryan Fecteau, to get those powers back.
She won a partial victory just a few weeks ago. That's when the U.S. Supreme Court said she should still get to vote in the House while her case is appealed. Well, today, judges heard that appeal, and News Center Maine's Donovan Lynch was there.
Lawyers for the Trump administration also participated in today's oral arguments, joining the side of Representative Libby. Now to the State House, where time is running out for lawmakers to get things done before the end of the session, and that includes Part 2 of the state budget. Today, Republicans and Democrats held separate news conferences, accusing each other of not being willing to compromise. Republicans say Democrat spending is out of control, and they haven't offered a way to pay for it. Meanwhile, a group of Democrats is still pushing back on proposals made by Governor Janet Mills. They say her plan relies on funding cuts to early childhood education programs. They say instead of cutting those programs and others that middle-class Mainers rely on, taxes should go up for the wealthy and big corporations.
Teachers, firefighters, nurses, older care workers should not have to pay the same tax rate as millionaires.
Right now we have an unbalanced budget. The Democrats have an extra $300 million in spending that they want to pay for, but they haven't shown us any proposals for how they are going to cover that $300 million.
Republican leaders say they plan to vote no on the taxation bills, adding time to decide on a budget and other important legislation is running out.
Governor Mills was not in Augusta today. She was in Washington to accept an award for something that happened when she was in D.C. back in February. You might remember it.
So you better comply, because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one.
So that, of course, is Governor Mills standing up to President Donald Trump at the White House over Maine allowing trans athletes to compete in school sports. The president made good on his threats and has tried to block federal funds to Maine, but many of those attempts were either blocked by or are still tied up in the courts. Today, for the stand she took, the governor was honored with the Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Award.
President of the United States in the White House points to you, and you have the presence of mind and like the moxie to say, see you in court. How great is she?
As enthusiastic as Kerry Kennedy's introduction of Governor Mills was at the award ceremony, the governor herself was at times emotional, often wistful, when she spoke about the two men who helped guide her formative years. Robert F. Kennedy, the namesake of the award, and her father, Sumner Peter Mills, Jr., who, as a young man, went on a bicycle tour of pre-war Europe in the late 1930s and saw firsthand the rise of dictators.
My father told me it was important in life to stand up for people who couldn't stand up for themselves. He would often say, you can't let bullies have their way. They never stop. And so I think it was the echo of his voice that I heard that February morning when the President of the United States unexpectedly confronted me at the White House. And since that time, there have been other threats across the country, more bullying towards businesses, towards lawyers, towards colleges, scientists, researchers, unions, veterans, and women, threats to Social Security, to health care, to medical research and education, threats towards states and countries, large and small. We cannot let intimidation win the day. Each of us can send forth that tiny ripple of hope. We can restore the rule of law. We can revive our rights, recharge our nation, and rewrite the history of our world. Our children and our grandchildren be proud of us the way I hope my father is proud of me today.
Still ahead right here tonight, finding another use for an 1800s church here in Maine.
That's later, but first, Ryan Breton on some surprising data about the Gulf of Maine as News Center Maine at 6 continues.
Well, it won't do anything to help kids cool off this summer, but wait until next year. Look at this, ground has been broken now. This is a new swimming pool that will replace the aging Kiwanis pool. It's on Douglas Street in Portland. The new facility will accommodate up to 400 people at once. That's 4 times as many as before. The new pool will also feature water slides, splash pads, and shaded seating. Sign me up for the shaded seating, by the way. That's right where I want to be.
Water slides
little
is nice.
spot.
Yeah, right?
I usually think like in Maine, it's a luxury to have a swimming pool in
Oh,
general,
yeah.
but I always feel like we're so close to the ocean that public pools are like the best reason to have a pool, because otherwise I'm like, well, let's get there. Or lakes, our lakes are great
Yeah.
too.
I was going to say, we have a lot of Maine that's
we
not near the ocean.
we do, and they've got the Great Lakes, so it kind of works
Right,
out.
yes, they have
that
somewhere
way
else to go.
tomorrow, but generally we've got at least half a weekend that looks really
Yeah.
nice. And again, Saturday's not quite as bad as it looks. When we get there, you'll understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
And next week really levels out in the temperatures.
Yeah, it's not as hot. This
Yeah.
was kind of it for now.
Okay, Keith, thanks. Well, after several years of effort now, an historic Catholic church in Maine's second largest city is on the verge of becoming a restaurant and brewery.
Boston-based Democracy Brewing is expected to begin construction later this summer to transform the St. Joseph's Catholic Church into its newest location. As News Center Maine's Vivian Lee shows us, the 16,000 square foot building will also include event space for several hundred people. Exciting stuff. Democracy Brewing hopes to open its newest venue in Lewiston in September of next year.
We'll be right back.